Oh, yes, handling criticism. What do pastors know about that, right? Let's see.
Um,
Let me
that's the
close
life.
this. Welcome back, everyone, to an Almost Perfect podcast. Joseph and I are here. We are Tomless today. Tom, I forgot. Tom said he'd be traveling somewhere. He wasn't going to be here, and we decided to brave it to see if we could pull it off by ourselves. Joseph, I think we'll be all right, but
I hope so.
I hope so.
That experienced brain is always helpful.
Oh, the old guy? Is that what you mean?
I didn't say so.
Tom will hear that later, so he'll get me for that one. Joseph, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing very well.
Yeah,
Good starts to another week. So that's
good.
good. Yes.
I can't remember if we've done an episode since I think we've done one, but since your new appointment, but how's it going? Getting fit in and
Yeah, last week. Yesterday was like a month since I've been
oh, it's
in
already been
this
a
new
month, yeah.
place. Yeah, so it's been good so far. They've not thrown stone at me, so I'll take that.
Well, because that church they would throw shells because that's the island church,
Yeah,
man.
I know.
They throw rocks. We're gonna throw shells.
Yeah. Yesterday, something strange. The chair of the board messaged me, I think it was like almost 6. And she's like, Did I send her a message? I'm like, Nope, I did not. She's like, Okay, she got something. And then she sent, all the scam. And um, can you help me with something in that nature, um, Pastor Joseph Tobias. I'm like, oh my goodness, and sent it to several members. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't even have their numbers,
I just
but the
got here,
person
y'all.
I just did, and it just blows my mind how evil is waiting for an opportunity.
Just waiting, just waiting.
Yeah.
That happened to me. I don't know. It's been a few months ago, and I was like, "Hey, I finally made it." I always, all these other pastors, like, "Hey, I didn't send you emails. Somebody's using my name." I was like, "Nobody's trying to use my name," but I finally made it. Somebody was sending out emails to people and asking, I think gift card. I forget what the scam is.
Hmm.
Yeah, let's put that out there again, Joseph, for everybody.
Yeah,
That's not how we do things.
absolutely.
It
Yeah.
sounds weird, feels weird. It is
Hmm.
weird, man. So
That's
yeah,
true. That's
don't stay
true.
from it. Give
Mm.
Joseph at least another month before he
I
starts
know.
asking
It's
for
too
things.
soon.
It's too soon. Yeah. What about there at Wesley? How are things going there?
Good. This last Thursday was full of celebration. Celebrated some birthdays. We had 4 baptism.
No way.
Yes, and
Awesome, man.
12 new people joined. So that was something special. Yeah.
Oh man. What's
Yeah.
that? What's that old quote that says that'll tie into what we're talking about? Like,
Mm.
how's it go? He who says it can't be done shouldn't get in the way of the one who's getting it done. Something like that. I love
Yeah.
it, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal.
That was just so neat to see, and how God is moving in a different way.
Yeah.
Sometimes I still have that anxiety of, will people show up? Will people
Sure.
come? But people keep showing up without any real marketing or putting the word out there. So um, yeah, I should get out of God's way and let God move. Yeah.
Amen to that. Get out of God's way. Well, I feel like I read that somewhere. I learned that some time ago. Just thinking about the early church. They didn't have any marketing, no billboards.
Mm,
They weren't online. They didn't have a website. They weren't passing out brochures or,
mm.
they were just doing what God led them to do.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
the difference that made was everything. And sometimes we get caught up in all these other tools, right?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe
Uh,
we're doing too much because we don't depend on God to do it.
Doing too much. So, like you said, maybe that anxiety oh man, nobody comes. And so
Yeah.
we let that sort of drive what we think we have to do
Hmm.
next instead of
Yeah,
just
that's true.
focusing on what God wants us to do. It's almost like we overthink things. I don't know.
Mm, mm.
Um, things at Kelsey are going good. We just had a VBS event this past weekend. The title it had something to do with being groovy, so we were groovy. And I told the church this last week. I was gonna do it, Joseph, like to
Mm.
advertise for to support the VBS event last Sunday. I had ordered an outfit from Amazon, like a groovy outfit.
Oh man.
That's when I learned that they say one size fits most. Nah, man.
Was too big or too small?
It didn't fit even most of me. How's it gonna fit most people? I couldn't get it on. Oh man. And I ordered two because I was worried, well, what something doesn't fit right. Both of
Mm.
them the same way. So I didn't have
Oh.
anything groovy to wear,
Mm.
but I tried. Anyway, I told the
Oh.
church yesterday, I wasn't really hip on groovy lingo.
Mm.
That was just before my time. My favorite show growing up was Good Times, though. That's about as close as I
Hmm.
can get. So
Yeah.
I just called everybody a jive turkey. I don't know if you know that.
No, I
No,
don't.
yeah, for me. That's groovy. That's groovy,
Oh, okay. That works.
and that's why I don't buy my own clothes online because nothing fits, man.
Did
But
you buy like small, with your holy imagination, like,
that was I was hoping for the best, right?
yeah.
I thought I got the biggest size they had, but it wasn't enough. So lesson learned.
Mhm.
I won't be doing that anymore. I never buy clothes from Amazon. So anyway,
Mm.
but anyway, it was a good time. We had a good time anyway, even without groovy clothing. So
Mm.
Joseph, I want to share some good news, man. This is
Okay.
I read this morning. I don't have a whole lot of stories because I didn't have a time because I've been so busy. Actually, no, I woke up late. Just tell you, I'm just being honest, right? But here's something that came across my news feed here to pay attention to. Something that I'm just gonna celebrate and just put it out there. Teen suicide is on the decline.
Oh, that's
New
good.
new federal data shows.
That's
So
awesome.
yes, very promising.
Mhm.
I want to get to the part where it says duh-duh-duh-duh. The new report shows that the prevalence of serious suicidal thoughts in 12 to 17-year-olds fell from nearly 13% in 2021 to 10% in 2024. And the prevalence of suicide attempts by teens also fell slightly from 3.6 to 2.7. I'm trying to see where it says here. Potential causes for the improvement has to do with one reason might be that more teens are opening up to others about their
Yeah.
suicidal thoughts.
Mm.
Maybe the suicide prevention program run by different
Mhm.
organizations it educates people about the warning signs of suicide. This is a quote from somebody in the article. Not keeping it inside and just sharing with someone that you're struggling can be helpful.
That's good.
And besides that, more teens have been seeking help and finding it, getting connected for treatment and whatnot. My wife does
Mm.
part of some of her work is organizing this effort in schools, and that's a big thing to her. Uh, help
Yes.
helping students recognize not just for themselves, but also like their friends and people that do it. Signs that something may be somebody may be
Yes.
struggling with something, and
Hmm.
so hopefully all that stuff is working together. That's the good news for the day, y'all. That's
That
that's
is
what I
so
like
good.
to hear.
That is a
Yeah,
great news. Yeah.
that is good news. Okay, so Joseph, I wanted to talk about something that pastors probably know nothing about. Uh, Pastors probably, if you're a pastor, church leader, any kind of leader, you probably just turn this off now because this probably doesn't apply to you. You've never had to deal with criticism at all, ever. Like not even a little bit, right, Joseph?
Mm. And now, never. So holy.
It's so holy. Yeah, it's a holy profession, right? No, so here's Here's what I think. So this isn't just about pastors, not even just about leadership. I think sometimes as we work in the church, as we work in other organizations, you got to realize just being the person that's leading the charge, so to speak,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
You're going to have criticism. You're going to have people who have something to say, who have a difference of opinion,
yeah,
or who are having a bad day themselves. Who knows, right? And
that's
so,
true.
criticism is just a part of sort of being in charge, leading the way, making decisions. And so I thought it'd be helpful for us to kind of weed through some of criticism, the kind of criticisms we might expect, the kind of criticisms that might be helpful, and maybe the ones that you ignore. And then
Yeah.
kind of figure out how we can kind of lead the way for others to kind of also handle criticism in a healthy way
Mhm.
as well. So I don't know how to ask it, Joseph, but so on a scale of 1 to 10, like how much has criticism sort of gotten in your head over the years, do you think?
It's never a good feeling, you know. It's something that, for me, oftentimes I don't know if I handle criticism well. I'm one of those people when I'm being criticized, every information marinates slowly, which sometimes makes it worse
Mm.
for me. So I take it and I'm like, okay. Sometimes I won't say anything, but it cooks for a while. What's your question again? Rate of 1 to 10?
Yeah, like how much is that sort of criticism sort of like kind of creeped into your mind that you've heard and you just you might be answering it, right? Because
Yeah,
you said it marinates there. Like
yeah.
how much does it marinate there?
I'll say I'll say six,
Mm,
because I have a mantra, right? Don't let what happened yesterday to stop you from existing today. It's a way I've tried to always live, regardless of what it is, and it's not like it's easy. Same thing with criticism. I want to believe to be honest, like Paul says, have an honest assessment of
hmm
yourself, So when it comes to criticism, I try to be honest. Is this true? Uh, or if it's not, instead of being angry and all that, and I break it down, as I say, slowly marinate, if it's something that is true about who I am, I'm like, okay, hopefully I'll do better. If it means to take accountability, I'll take accountability for what is being said. But if the person is just being, out of place, out of order, something I can shove, if it's something I can talk to the person about, definitely will do that.
mm. So how do we figure out the difference between sort of helpful helpful critique
Mhm.
versus just random harmful criticism? Like what do you find is the difference between those two things? Critique coming from
Yeah.
a place of, hey, this is what I noticed. I don't know if you saw this, versus, eh, I don't like what you did.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
how do you
like
see
you
the
said,
difference?
I think it's the spirit behind it.
Mm,
It's if one person is always being negative towards you, you just begin to know, hey, do you have a problem with me? You know, let's talk
mm,
about that. But I think, just the negative type, it's the spirit behind it, the why behind it, is it because you have certain people who feel my way is just the way, So regardless of how anyone else does it, it's never right for them, right? They have a linear way, one way of seeing things. And if it doesn't work that way, they have a problem with it. And it so
mm.
happened that a lot of church people, I realize church is a place full of people that have opinions about things.
Sure.
And so
So I've
everyone,
heard.
yeah, everyone has an opinion about something. So they tend to, some, easily tend to talk about it. So I think the spirit behind it, is it for the good of the person? Is it for the good of the community? Is it for the overall health of what's going on? So it ultimately boils down to the why. Is it out of a place of love, of growth, of support? You want to see this person do well, or it's not your way. So the spirit matters behind it.
Mm. So I was wondering, um, I was trying to think. I'm putting myself in other contexts besides the church. Maybe,
Hmm.
helping people out at schools or being a part of other organizations. I'm trying to compare my personal experience with criticism in those contexts versus the church. And I gotta tell you, I hate saying this out loud, but like in my experience, this is only John Fletcher's experience. I'm not saying this is like this is everywhere, but like the church is the worst, right? Like
That is true.
I don't quite get that. I don't understand like where
Mm.
maybe it's the subject matter, right? I don't right
Yeah.
when it comes to these spiritual things, we're a little more riled up, or we have the
Mm.
potential to be a little more defensive about stuff. I don't know if that's it or not,
Yeah.
or if it's
Mm.
just maybe
Mm.
some of people in church don't have a chance to be that voice other places, and
Mm.
church is their place. But again, just in my experience, it's like
Mm.
man, I was hoping it'd be the other way around. Like,
I
you know,
know.
the church is
You know the
supposed to be the
worst
place
part,
where you
John.
do that. What's
Yeah.
that?
Yes. You know, I don't know how it connects, but sometimes people that will criticize things, I've seen, which is the worst. People rather the church fails, right? So that their critique is proven right than
Mm.
something to succeed and feel like they are proven wrong. Um, and I think it says a lot from where that is coming from.
That's a spirit, ain't it? That's a
Yes.
spirit.
Yeah.
So to be able to say "I told you so," right,
Yeah. Mm.
and be willing to let it all just fall apart, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can remember a pretty hard conversation once with some church leaders, and somebody brought up
Mm.
how about churches that die, right? Churches that I don't want to use the
Mm.
word fail, but they die. They just, they can't function and sustain themselves the way they used to, and so they die. They go away. And the conversation was something like, well, we wouldn't want that for our church, so we need to change or do whatever. And
Mm.
one of the responses from somebody else, well, churches die, so be it. It's like we'd rather that go through that than to say I was wrong about something, or I need to change
I
something.
know. I
And
know.
and
Yeah.
that's kind of hard to deal with. So um
Recently,
mm,
to someone, when we started, this Dina church, and I think a month into it, someone came and we're talking, sharing with him, hey, maybe sometime we're going to have you join us, and after saying all that and sharing the excitement and all that, he's like, I've been a part of some of this things before, and you start with so much excitement, and then after 3 months the whole thing just dies. I'm like, man, what a spirit.
yeah, yeah, come on, man,
you
have a
know
little
and-
hope, brother, come on.
like, if you
Wow.
don't have anything, I used to have a professor that says, if you don't have anything to do, don't do it here. um it's,
Yes.
if you don't have
uh
anything to say to encourage, right? It's better you don't say anything, because you become a place of reference.
Now I will say I've been doing some more. I love People think I'm joking, but I love the book of Ecclesiastes, right?
Mhm.
I always say
Mhm.
my favorite book of the Bible is John, because it's
Yeah.
abundant life and all that stuff. And then I
Yeah.
like to read Ecclesiastes, because then Ecclesiastes is like life, whatever.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I
there's
know.
always some room for that pessimism, I guess, or that
Mhm.
realism. But at the same time, come on, brother, let's not start like that,
Yeah.
right? So,
Be
um, so
positive.
yeah, at least at some point, at least try to be, right? And that's when you
Yeah.
say, I'm positive this is not going to work out. So, Joseph, when do you decide to ignore
Mm.
criticism, and when do you decide that maybe this criticism should change something?
Hmm. Sometimes it's I think it takes a very honest reflection um on what is said and be willing to accept what you just hear in whatever context um and be humble. It takes humility to accept criticism.
Mm,
And I think that's where our formation plays a role. um it's easy to be defensive and to say this is not true and things like that. But I think, listening doesn't mean accepting. That we can listen to people what they're saying. That doesn't mean we've accepted what they've said, but we can sit with it. I'm really beginning to learn. Sometimes I do it to my leadership, and it's awkward, when someone is saying something, they're energetic, they are waiting for a nod and affirmation and all that, that I don't necessarily agree. I don't know how I feel about it,
mm,
that I'm just quiet, right? I don't want to affirm what you're saying because I don't know if I affirm it. I don't want to reject it because I'm not sure I've really rejected it. Let me sit with it. And I find it awkward. They find it awkward, but hey, let's sit in that awkward moment, right?
mhm.
I rather we do that. So even in this context of someone, critiquing, I hope I can stay, true to the fact that I can sit with it, be true to it, and then, sorry, my phone is ringing, and ultimately be honest. And if it's something to come back to the person and continue that conversation, criticism is always not comfortable, because sometimes we think it's a judgment statement about who we are. Um,
Mm.
and it doesn't land well, like there's something wrong with us or with how we do. None of us will easily take that, but we can be better if we listen, not necessarily what they say, but there can be a lot of truth about a revelation of ourselves, a blind spot that probably we're not seeing. So listening and accepting is a good start. And like the question, when do you know how or if this is something you would take? I think it requires reflection and sitting on it to be able to know.
Yeah, it's hard not to be defensive, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I think particularly early on, of course, I would always think, well, these people, they just need to listen, right? Because they haven't thought about this as much as I have. They haven't been whatever, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I learned, well, that's true. That more than likely that's probably true. But I need to take that into account too, right?
Yeah. That's
And
true.
give people time, even if their criticism is unwarranted. Give people a little more time to be able to flesh that out for themselves, because of the fact that by the time, if it's a meeting or some conversation
Yeah.
about whatever, you're right. I've probably written about this stuff, going through my thoughts. I've probably prayed about
Mm,
it. I've probably looked up other information, research, all this. I've probably done all of that. And then I'm just laying it on someone for the first time. Like,
mm.
you know what? Give them time.
I know.
And you talked about, the spirit of it before. Yeah, okay, we take that into consideration
Mm,
um and go with, but give people that time to kind of
yeah.
air
Mm,
it out for themselves. They might hear themselves, right, the same way you hear
true.
them, and that might be a very rewarding,
Mm,
healing moment. Who knows? It might be
yes.
very some kind of revelation that comes
Mm,
from that as well. But we also recognize, There's a lot of criticism that's unfair.
Yeah.
It is targeted. It's not helpful, meaningful. It's not beneficial to
Mm,
anybody. Maybe other than the person who feels like they're making some point. So,
mm,
I've
mm,
part of what I've tried to do, and again, not having had the experience in other avenues, other contexts, but in the church, I've been at
mm.
churches where it was almost like a badge of honor. Oh, our meetings, ooh boy, they were tough, and and we would argue, and I'm like, why are we proud of that? Like, why
No.
is that?
Mm,
Our
mm.
arguing at a
Yeah.
committee meeting is not a fruit of the Holy Spirit. Can I
Yeah. Amen.
necessarily? Certainly not. It's not a sport either. So why are we
Yeah.
so like? But then at the same time, you go look at back and all the meetings, minutes, and everything. It's like, well, we didn't do anything, but we argued
Mm.
about it. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I
Yeah.
mean, what are we even doing? So there is
Mm,
there's that to me for me. There are different sides of criticism. There's the side that's just somebody who wants to be or who wants to say whatever the pops into their head, who wants to be
mm.
contrary. I want to be devil's advocate. I'm always like, why? The devil doesn't
Be the
need another
devil.
advocate. Yes. Be a Jesus advocate.
I
Hello.
know. Mm,
So but so there's that side of it, but there is also the side and what I've learned is that for people who want to offer productive criticism, like that can be really hard to do itself. Like to listen to it can
yeah.
be hard, but also to be willing to say, I feel like I need to say this.
Mhm.
And it's hard for
Yeah.
me to say because maybe I don't know the words. Maybe it's going
Mm,
to sound like I'm attacking somebody, and I don't want to do that. So,
yes.
learning how to receive
Mm,
criticism, learning how to offer it as well, I think is a
yes.
part of that
Yeah.
conversation. And I don't know how you do that other than
Mm,
uh, decide that hey, this we're gonna make this time uh,
yeah.
to learn how to do that. We're going to
Mm,
set our boundaries of what we will allow people to say. In other words, do not get personal, right? Do not
yeah.
name call, those kinds of things. And if we
Yeah.
can stay within those boundaries, I think that help us shape what we
Mm,
or excuse me, how we, have these conversations. I think that might be helpful. Otherwise, it just takes
mm,
some practice, maybe, right? Learning how
yeah.
to
That's
just
true.
get beyond your opinion, your
Mm,
initial opinion, to be
mm,
able to say what needs to be said for the benefit of anybody
yeah.
else that may be
I,
listening. So,
yes. And, like the other side you brought, sometimes our personalities are different. There's some people we just tell people the way things are. I always believe, okay, is it correcting, like we said, correcting for correcting sake? It might be true what you're criticizing, right?
hmm
Or what you're saying, but you're not doing it out of love. It's like the scripture that says, teach the truth in love, right? This is the truth, but we're teaching it in love. But on the other side also is I find myself many times that I pray God helps me, as a leader, that we see things that, requires correction, right? But we don't want to do it because we don't want to offend the other person's feelings, right?
yeah,
Um, and in that sense, we're not doing it right as well. That yes, people can be critical about things that they should not be critical about and criticize people, but that correction out of love, it's like seeing someone, this path is it's not the right path. This decision is not it's not really a healthy decision. But like I don't want to offend your feelings, that I want to believe, maybe we're compelled more by love to act, even if it can be awkward.
mm,
Sometimes maybe the person may not even fully accept it, but that I think in church sometimes we're not doing holy correction, to be honest, because we're like, hey, everyone has their life to live, I'll pray about them, and present them to God, but we don't want to be the bad guy, when it
Yeah.
comes to doing good in that way.
That's hard work, right? It's it's like you use the word awkward. It feels awkward. It
Mm.
feel sometimes it feels judgy. Like who am I to
Yes,
say
exactly.
this,
Mm.
or what if
Mm.
I'm wrong, right? And
Yes.
so
Mm.
for me, all that said, like the church should be a place where we can have those conversations because of the supposed connection we have, as
Yes.
sister and
Mm.
brother of faith, as a
Mm.
family of God, right? As the beloved community, God's church.
Mm.
Like because of that, we
Yeah.
should be um, willing to work some of that. So when you think of some of the things that the Apostle Paul, for example, addressed in Scripture. These fights or these uh, things that are happening in the church that he's addressing, that he's trying to say, come on, y'all,
Yeah.
right?
That's
What are we
true.
doing here, right?
Mm.
And so I often think, okay, Paul writes these letters, and they're written so that the church can hear them. So somebody reads the letter to the church, and then kind of some of the faces like, I told you. He's talking about you.
It's his fault.
Yeah. If you wouldn't have done that, we wouldn't have got a letter from Paul. Thanks a lot, right? So, but anyway, but in that sense of a family and community, like we should be able to have like awkward conversations
Yeah.
together and give each other grace enough to grow. Um,
Mm.
Going back, taking into consideration exactly what you said about the spirit of how we say things
Yeah.
and the reason why we want to say things. So,
Mm.
but
Mm.
again, that's still
Yeah.
ugh, it's
Mm.
tough, man. It's
It
tough, and
is. Yesterday, my sermon was on humility. Um,
hmm,
and, the way I framed it is, we often talk about, signs of spiritual maturity. My question was, how do you know if someone is spiritually mature, right? Is it
hmm,
the length of their prayer? How often they attend church? We have all these outward metrics, right, to judge spirituality. And I quoted the text where Jesus said, on the last day, many will say, we casted demons in your name. We did this in your name. And it's all this, amazing things that we will say, wow, God is at work in this person's life. And then he said, he would say, I do not know you. Right. That in reality, the measure of our faith is not anything outwards per se or any miraculous or power signs that we can show. Um, but I strongly believe that the true display of our spirituality is in our humility, right? That God emptied himself. And I read from Philippians, this, theologically, we talk of kenosis, this emptying of God's self and offering himself to us. That I think in churches, for me, as a pastor and to the congregation, how can we die more to ourselves? Like John would say, I must decrease so that he will increase, that we can be less and less more about ourselves, our opinion, our rights, to die to all those things. And like he started, be of one mind. And put the needs of others above yours, that it's from this place of you know true community growth and help and becoming more like God, because we don't trust ourselves in churches, to be honest. We don't trust
hmm.
that the other person is watching out for our good. That's why we are having so many conflicts and everyone trying to be right, because we know maybe we've not died to ourselves, but we are certainly sure the other person has not died to themselves.
We can prove it too. So kind of not so much ego management, but just a
Mm,
dying to self. That's
yeah.
that's the
Mm,
difference, right?
mm,
But if we could start with ego management, maybe that'd be helpful too. At least start
yeah,
there and work our way to
that's
learning how
true.
to
True.
completely give of ourselves along the
Mm,
way. So, and then the last thing I would just want to make sure we mention is like part of in the church context, part of whether it should be or not, but part of my responsibility, I feel like, is making sure like if when I have, of course, I I have I don't have staff at my church. I have very limited experience with staff. So all the people I work with that make ministry happen, so to speak, these are volunteers, right? And so it bothers me to no end when people offer up, especially the empty criticism. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'll
Mm,
call it. Uh,
yeah.
offer up the empty criticisms to those people who are
Mm,
trying, they're doing their very best to plan and to
mm,
organize and to all those kinds of things that are important. And
yeah.
what they have to hear is that empty criticism from somebody or
Mm,
somebody's. That drives me
yeah.
nuts. I feel like I learned early on, thankfully,
Mm,
that criticism comes. It's part of the comes with the
yeah.
territory, right?
Yeah.
Being leader, being pastor, and
Mm,
I feel like I've learned to just okay, it is what it
mm,
is. But to have other people just pour their hearts out into their
yeah.
work and then have it
Mm,
be met with that kind of stuff, that really bothers me. So I would like to figure out also like how can I help my people be able to withstand that and
mm,
call it out for what it is
yeah.
and not be, maybe not to let it feel so personal and
Mm,
as a
mm,
way to guard their hearts, because then
yeah.
that's frustrating. Why would I want to volunteer anymore if you're just gonna
I
dog
know.
everything I do, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
anyway.
that's really hard. Mm,
And the good thing is, we don't live in a world where it's so much easier to leave criticisms and everything like emails or social media, or it's not easy to do that today like it used to
you
be.
know, it's not.
So
Everyone is there killing you everywhere, you know.
everywhere, yeah. I saw a story. I don't know if you saw it. This was somewhere maybe in England. I can't remember who it was, but I don't know if he was a bishop or something. So apparently, like the church, they they let people use the church for different things. There was a choir
Mm,
doing um, some kind of show, whatever. And I'm just gonna call him a bishop because I think he was. I guess
yeah.
he misunderstood and he thought
Mm,
the event was supposed to end like an hour earlier. So the guy comes
mm,
out on stage. I guess he lives, I don't know how it works, but he lives there at the church, right?
mm.
And he comes out, he's wearing his pajamas, he's got on his robe, and he's on the stage. He says, "Y'all need to go home. This is a racket, and you just need to get out of my house and all this kind of stuff." And of
Oh
course,
wow.
everybody is dogging him, and then you're like, "Well, I mean, that's kind of messed up." The rest of the story is he realized he made a mistake. He apologized
Mm,
to it. He reached out, but people are still like, "Oh, all right." So it's
yeah.
oh my gosh,
Oh,
that's part of the
oh
world we live in
man.
as well.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true. Like you just
and,
don't want any negative press right now. Yeah.
no, and nobody ever says, oh, I wrote this, thing. You're such a whatever, and blah blah blah. Nobody ever goes back and says, oh, I shouldn't have said that because I didn't know you. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody ever corrects themselves, right?
That is so true.
That all
Yeah.
of that just sort of lives out there for all of internet history. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
Joseph, give me a final word, man, about criticism, how we
Mm.
walk with it, how we learn from it, whatever you would give to somebody to kind of finish off our time.
I'll go back to the book of James. Pardon me, I can't remember the chapter and the verse, but it's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible somewhere.
I know it's in the book of James. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Um, that, whichever side we are, that we can remember those ancient wisdom that we can listen, and then we don't have to speak everything that comes through our minds. Um, and whatever people say, let's choose to not let anger be where our response will come from. Um, and that will be my word for today.
Amen. That go a long way. It goes a long way to, I think, nurturing our connection, our community together. Also, advancing the things that we feel like God's asked us to do goes a long way into making sure that we are people that are focused on the way of God and the way of Christ. So yeah, thank you for that. That's good. And criticize less, critique more. Is maybe that's a good thing to say, right?
Mm,
Critique what needs to be critiqued.
yeah.
But then Jesus, what did Jesus say about, something about the log in your eye, looking at the speck?
Hmm.
Maybe. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know if that applies here or not, but I'll just say it because maybe it does. So
It
anyway, all right.
does.
Joseph, thanks for your time, brother. Always appreciate it. Thanks for your wisdom. Thank you for sharing all that. Thank you for watching, listening, however you get an Almost Perfect podcast. We appreciate you. Next time, maybe Tom will be with us, and we'll have an old guy that we can meet our old guy quota. That's what we got to do. That's what we're doing, Tom. That's what we're doing. So, anyway, I hope you all have a good rest of the week. We will see you next time. God be with you.
I'll be with you.
Try to have fun along the way. Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.